Hey guys, this is Gamelark, aka Alan, and I'm bringing a new episode of Devil May Play.
Hey guys, Trip here, and today we're going to be talking about the fact that YouTube is run by robots.
Elaborate, please.
Well, the latest thing that YouTube's hive mind has created is a wonderful system known as YouTube Heroes.
Heroes!
And the latest in a long line of brilliant, wonderful decisions by our robot lord and masters.
And YouTube Heroes, this is something I've heard a lot about. I watched the video. It all made sense to me. I mean, why wouldn't you allow people to potentially abuse a system that will allow them to mass flag videos on an account
Right.
without
Okay.
any verification, validation, or confirmation that said videos are contain the things that they're being flagged for? I mean, it'd be the
Yeah.
same thing as if you could just charge anybody with anything without any evidence. I think that makes perfect sense.
Which, to be fair, is what's already happening with their content ID policies. But let's back up for a moment. Let's
Sure.
talk about what this is. So, for those of you who don't know, YouTube Heroes
Heroes!
is a YouTube Heroes is a new system that was announced just a few days ago, I believe, by whoever is actually running YouTube. And
Skynet.
yeah, Skynet. Let's just go with that. But long story short, it's God. I don't even know. I don't even know if you can long story short this, but a lot of people have been talking about it. There's a lot of videos out there. Angry Joe, Jim Sterling. I made my own little silly video about this, but it's kind of a fever pitch, a breaking point, a point where we all just have to step back and look at the madness of YouTube as a company. Now, we can talk about a bunch of problems with YouTube, the quote unquote employees, as in us, the people who make the videos, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Sometimes people exploit the hell out of YouTube. There's trolls everywhere. But today I want to talk about YouTube, the company, the people who are supposedly running the show, and the level of out of touch hackery that goes into their decisions day in and day out. The latest example being, as we said, YouTube Heroes. Now, I'm beating around the bush, but that's because I'm trying to really succinctly describe what this
You're
is.
trying to lube us up before you just go
Yeah,
full. You go
just
in.
go ham on this shit, man. So, YouTube Heroes, it's basically
The
okay, let
worst
me
idea they've ever had, maybe.
yeah, but
Besides
let me
Content ID.
sum up what they're trying to do. YouTube is trying to respond to the issue, the widespread issue that everyone knows about, that the comments are shit.
They've
The
always
comments
been
on
shit.
YouTube are shit. They've always been shit. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I'm lucky because my comments are almost always great, but that might just be because I'm still small time. But the comments on YouTube are shit. And they're trying to address that by creating a system where YouTubers, the YouTube community, can, kind of police that a bit by proving that, they're positive members of the community. So you get points for, putting subtitles on a video. And, that's great. That's great. We need more of that. You get points for, I can't remember some of the other, honestly, I think that was the only good thing out of this whole system because the rest of it is bullshit and easily exploitable. The other things that you get these points for, these hero points that lets you level up. Yes, this is basically an RPG because hey, we're cool with the kids, yay, music band. But so everything else is things like, oh, if you report a comment or report a video, you get points. Do I even need to explain the problem there? If you mass flag videos, flag
What?
a bunch of videos for inappropriate content
Excuse
or
me.
breaking the terms of service,
You have to
then
get to
you
level
get
3
points.
first. You have to get to level 3 before you can mass flag.
But see, the thing is, YouTube doesn't understand its own viewer base. They don't understand the lengths that trolls go to. People, like, trolls are people who either have no life or they have a life, but their life is so shitty that they spend the rest of their lives trying to make life terrible for everyone else. Do you really think that the trolls of YouTube aren't going to it's basically just video game grinding, more or less, let's call it what it is, to get to level 3 so that they can exploit the hell out of us,
Well,
destroy our channels, and sabotage us?
if I can jump in real quick.
Sure.
YouTube, this is something I just thought of. YouTube on YouTube, you're guilty until proven innocent. That is
Exactly.
that is the way that their systems are designed. If you were, I know they recently changed this. I'm not sure of the complete ramifications, but for years, if you had a content ID claim, the money was going to whoever claimed it. I think they just recently fixed it with maybe within the year
Wait,
where
did
it's
they?
yeah, they fixed it
I
so that
haven't been getting
now
money.
if you somebody claims it, it's like put into a temporary holding status, and then whoever is resolved to own the rights gets the money. But for the
Okay.
longest time, people were abusing that system, and I'm talking years. It took them like 4 or 5, maybe more years to fix that. And
Because no one's running YouTube.
well, they just constantly they're just constantly trying to cover their ass. And what it is they're getting pressure from what I've heard, they're getting pressure from major labels, movie companies, just all the stereotypical media conglomerates that are trying to prevent innovation and imagination from excelling. And YouTube was supposed to be like the people's platform for a long time, and now it's obviously not. It's an advertiser's platform. It's become just as bad as Facebook. It's become, I mean, Twitter's kind of going the same way. Every single social media platform in my mind is merging towards this advertiser friendly space. I mean, for fuck's sake, every time I'm on Twitter, every sixth or seventh tweet is an advertised tweet. On Facebook, do I even need to go into Facebook? I don't.
This is
But
why I don't use
YouTube,
Facebook.
YouTube, like they want to eat. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They don't want to
Exactly.
have to put in any effort to moderating their own community, or they want creators to create, but they don't want to support them at
Exactly. And see, I
all.
was talking about this a bit earlier. I was talking about this right before we started recording that YouTube wants the benefits of having a sort of employer-employee relationship. We work for YouTube, and they want that to be the case, but it they don't want it to go both ways. So YouTube can take our money for the stuff that we're making, and fine. They own the servers. They're the ones who are letting us put up these videos. That's fine, but that's not even the bare minimum. Okay, if you're going to be taking my money, this is a partnership, and you need to do something. You need to be working with me now. I was saying this earlier. Just try to get in contact with YouTube's customer service.
You can't.
Just try to talk to an actual person. It's impossible. And this goes back to my point. I was saying it somewhat jokingly, and in the video I made, I was being silly, but YouTube is basically run by no one. It's run by a bunch of idiot hacks who want to leech off of what we're doing. And when I say we, I don't necessarily mean me because I'm small time, but they want to leech
I'm
off of
big
the
time.
big people like the PewDiePies, the
Game
Markipliers,
lark. Game
the
lark.
the game larks, yes. And but they don't want the responsibility that comes with that. And
Well,
they're facing all these pressures from, like you said, copyright companies and, well, not copyright companies, companies who are having copyright issues. And, that's to be expected and it's understood because, there are a lot of people on YouTube that all they do is post other people's music or they post full length movies or TV shows. And,
right.
that is a definite problem. But if you're going to be this massive multi-million-dollar company that's hosting millions of videos,
Billions, really.
then you need to put up or shut up and invest the resources to actually do something about it. And instead, what they've done is implemented all of these broken ass bots who are policing the website for them. And that's led to a slew of issues. The whole hashtag where's the fair use thing, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But to take that even further, now they want the people of YouTube, the cesspit that is YouTube, to police itself for free. First off, that's something that people's jobs are that. Moderation is a job, okay? So you want the people to do that job for you. And you also have no understanding of who your user base is, what they want, what they need, and you have no understanding of the dark side of your user base. You think you do because you understand there is a problem, but you have no understanding of how to fix that problem or why this problem exists or just the basic nature of the internet. Like, case in point, and I'll give you the floor after this, but case in point, the actual YouTube Heroes video
Mm-hmm.
had to shut off the comments on that video.
Yeah, I know.
That is indicative of the YouTube user base and how much of a cesspool it is. You want those people who you can't trust to exercise their First Amendment rights on your website. You want those people who, yes, you have a right to shut out the comments, your video, but you want those people to then be in charge of moderation on your website. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, there's it's not really funny. The tragic thing is, I remember watching the video, and what really got me, it wasn't the mass flagging. It was the contact YouTube directly part, level 4. Exactly. I was like, so people have been asking for like YouTube support for a decade now. I think it started in 2005 or 6, whatever it is, a decade almost. It's like you said, it's impossible to reach anybody on YouTube. But if you just go around and start flagging fucking videos, you can contact them directly, but they won't contact the creators. Like, there's no avenue to reach YouTube at all. That again, like, it's asinine. And like you said, basically, it's like giving a kid a loaded weapon and saying, "Don't shoot anybody." Like, of course, people are going to abuse this system. They already do it on a frequent basis, especially on like. I mean, gaming communities, we get a bad rap. There's like swatting. There's all kinds of terrible things that go on. And there's definitely competition between channels, let's players, personalities, whoever it is. So they get their fans, they use their fan base to flag videos as it is. And then once a video is flagged a certain amount of times, I've heard that there is actually a community strike placed on channel, which 3 of those shuts down your channel permanently. Basically, YouTube just makes it insanely easy for anyone to say, oh shit, well I'm just gonna, like, I don't like this person. I think that they're taking an audience away from me. I'm gonna do everything I can to screw them over. And YouTube is just giving me every single tool at my disposal now. I can do copyright claims without any background, like without any confirmation. Like, you don't have to do shit to do copyright claims, like nothing.
And see, out of touch doesn't even begin to describe it. Like, I'm honestly, it's baffling. It's so beyond sane human reasoning. That's what I was really trying to get at in that video when I was saying, you know, like, oh, YouTube is run by robots, because that's the only explanation my mind can wrap itself around. Because, I mean, you have a system where, like you said, people can abuse it so easily, and no one is going to, like, in a perfect world, on a perfect YouTube, we would have actual support from the company who would be able to moderate the moderators, who would be able to, you know, check if people are, you know, doing this too much or doing it when it doesn't make sense. And we would have some sort of resource if we have been attacked by these people to go to YouTube and say, hey, don't shut down my site. Don't shut down my channel. Could you please look at what is actually being flagged and understand that this is not right? And someone would do something about it. But no, we don't live in a perfect YouTube. We live in the actual YouTube world where there is nobody running this. I have zero faith that anybody is going to be adequately overseeing this process.
Oh, absolutely not. They're not doing it right now for copyright claims. Why would they do it for this? And now they're demonetizing videos, which they've always done, apparently. I don't know if you saw that H3H3 video. In fact, H3H3 is pretty much a good channel. H3H3 Productions is a great channel to check out if you want to know what's going on just in general for the state of YouTube. They do a lot of commentary on the state of YouTube, and they talked about this also. Excuse me, but I mean, the thing is, we're getting to the core of it, which is at what point is it entitled to say, why is this platform constantly making bad decisions? I can't think. Seriously, let's go back and think for the past 5 to 6 years. When was the last time that YouTube added a feature that benefited its creators or its users? I cannot think of a single example, maybe even back 7 or 8 or 9 years, ever since it got bought out by Google. You had the Google Plus comment fiasco, the Google Plus integration, which they forced you to make a Google Plus account for everything, which immediately was broken, and people were posting spam links that were like adding malware to computers and all that bullshit. You had copyright problems, you had revenue issues, you have this, you have the fact that if you have offensive content, whatever it might be deemed offensive according to YouTube, it's like it just continually goes down the shitter. And everyone says, well, it's like you have to grin and bear it because there's no alternative for the time being. However, I think we are fast approaching a break point where people are just going to get so fed up. It's so difficult now to start out as a YouTuber. Like, you basically have the world against you. I mean, I remember the good old days when, one, it's hard enough to compete with just other channels that are existing, that have higher production quality because they've been around longer than you have, or have more experience, or have the audience, and you're trying to be one of thousands, trying to make your own voice, create your own identity, whatever it is. Then YouTube actively is just like, well, we aren't going to support you in any way. And in fact, if anybody, if I had somebody that really did not like GameLark, and maybe you as well, that really just couldn't stand us, they could shut our channel down so quickly, or at least reduce the amount of features that we could have on the channel. No problem. Like, easily they could do it. They could abuse it. We are fortunate because, as you say, we're small time. But once you start reaching a certain audience, you start to feel these effects. You start to feel the effects of demonetization when this is your livelihood. I have already resigned to the fact that I will never depend on YouTube for an income. I've looked into Patreon, I've looked into other revenue sources, stuff like that, but even that's a little bit less than, reliable. And for the people that say, well, it's just YouTube, it's not, get a real job. I have a real job. This is my passion. This is my project. YouTube is making money off of us. How do I know this? Because they make money off of the ads, and they put ads on almost everything. So if a single person watches one of my videos, YouTube benefits from that. Not only because this person is going to YouTube, which bumps them up in search rankings, not only because creators have basically built YouTube to what it is, like, they're just constantly pissing on creators. And like you said, the only people they seem to care about are the bigwigs, the PewDiePies. And I don't have anything against PewDiePie. I really don't. I don't watch any of his videos, but it's like blatantly obvious they have favoritism to the nth degree. The only time you get in touch with them is if you throw a shit fit.
Here's the thing about that, though. Like, even the bigger YouTubers complain about this stuff.
True.
Like,
True.
So, and also, I want to address what you said about people who say, "Oh, it's just YouTube." Fuck you. I'm sorry, not you, GameLark. I love you, but if you're someone in the audience, I don't even want to. I don't want to insult my own audience, but I feel like if you're watching this, you don't believe this. But for people who do think that, I have no time for that sort of sentiment, because but here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. Okay, now the people who are on YouTube are very passionate about what they do. I'm very passionate about what I do.
Sure.
And what we're seeing, and I'm a very optimistic person, so what I'm going to say is going to sound very idealistic, but what I see in YouTube, or just this whole internet thing that's going on right now, is the emergence of what they call new media. Media that is controlled by people without a middleman, that is just the producer and the consumer. All right? Now, the rest of the world, the companies, the bigger corporations stuff, don't like that. And they're trying to take what is on the internet, what is this glorious, disgusting anarchy of the internet.
Right.
And try and pigeonhole it into this old school Nielsen rating bullshit that drove us away from TV in the first place. If you want to talk about what's a real cesspool, look at fucking television. Honestly, so I just, the whole sentiment that, oh, it's just YouTube. No, I don't buy into that. I think it is perfectly fair for us to, one, be passionate about what we do, and two, to expect something from the people who are supposedly pioneering this new form of media to maintain what made that new form of media emerge in the first place. Yes, there does need to be a level of organization, because the internet is the Wild West right now. The laws are all gray. No one knows what they can and can't do, but it's up to people like you and me, whoever's watching this, to make sure that when the cards do fall, when the laws do come in place, when the regulations do come in place, when YouTube becomes fully normalized, when this becomes the standard for media, we need to make sure that the law falls on our side, that our freedoms are maintained and what we can and can't do. So when I see stuff like that, when I see, and the whole censorship or whatever thing, like, oh, demonetize a video, that was around for years. I understand that. And it was another example of, a bot freaking out and flagging things that didn't need to be flagged.
For tags and titles. Yeah. Those are the two things that I've learned.
Yeah, that whole sentiment, though, it can so easily be taken to an extreme where we end up with the same sterilized, lowest common denominator, made for nobody, but trying to appeal to everybody bullshit that we see on television.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to throw in my 2 cents and then we might wrap it up unless you have a final point you want to make. But basically, I've had many, many different YouTube projects that I've worked on. And I've worked on some that were successful and then I just fell out of it somehow one way or another. And I've also had some that went nowhere. But I can tell you that over the majority of people that do this, they don't do it for the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't do it expecting to become a big YouTuber. They do it because they're passionate about it. I've done channels where I wasn't passionate about it and I stopped doing it. Like, you won't last unless you really, really care about what you're doing.
Exactly.
I mean, and the frustration comes from the fact that you are putting in this time and effort. And for a long time, even with GameLark, I was like, well, I can't ask people to support this. This isn't real content. But it's like, no, my time is valuable. When I work, I get paid for my time. And I think that what I'm trying to say is, this is something that's meaningful to us. As stupid as it sounds, we talk about video games, we talk about media, we offer our personalities and our critiques because we hope that there's other people that feel the same way we do, and perhaps by putting it into words, they can say, you know what, that's how I feel too. Or, you know what, that's a different perspective that I hadn't considered. And what you're talking about is this homogenization. Dude, exactly. This is my number one problem every day. This is a stupid little personal anecdote, but every day, like, I get up, my wife turns on the news, okay? She likes to watch the news, and I hate the news. Because I can't stand newscasters. They are devoid of personality. They could be like, a man was brutally gutted and murdered in the middle of the street. No emotion, no intonation, no perspective, no insight. I might as well just read an article at that point, but at least the text would give me some kind of impression or emotion. And I know maybe that some people say, well, media should be detached. That's a whole separate conversation. What I'm trying to say is the internet is given way for people with personalities and strong personalities to gain an audience. And it seems like now YouTube is not helping these people that have these personalities to continue doing what they're doing. YouTube has profited off of these people like the PewDiePies and the Total Biscuits. And like I said, I mean, can you imagine Jim Sterling or Total Biscuit on G4? Hell no. They wouldn't have ever made it. You laugh, but it's true. But we love him. I mean, Jim Sterling, to me, I'm not even a huge fan of his. I respect him. I don't personally agree with him a lot of times, but he has a place on the internet because there are a lot of people that follow it. But I'm trying to say, the more that YouTube constantly tries to cram this advertiser-friendly agenda down its content creators' throats, the less likely it is to be a good place for these creators. And there's going to come a point where someone else is going to figure it out and say, I can do this but better. Because everyone said MySpace would be around forever, and then Facebook cropped up. I'm just saying, there is going to come, I don't know if it will ever happen now. I don't know if it'll take 5 years, but I mean, can you think of a single thing that YouTube has done in the past decade to benefit its creators? Because I swear to God that I cannot. I really can't. When it comes to massive integration like this level, YouTube Heroes level, I can't think of a single thing it's done to help its creators. You're right. It just profits off. It's basically like, okay, so you helped us build this site to what it is now, but now we're more interested in the people that were outside of this. Basically kind of the enemies of the YouTube for the longest time, and now they're trying to play nice with them and just screwing over the creators. What,
And
like I said, what we do, we don't expect everyone to like it. That's the kind of the point. We want to build our own audiences. We want to build our own niches. I'm happy having my own little corner of the internet. But it would be nice if YouTube would at least acknowledge the fact that without people like us, even the small guys, it wouldn't even be where it was. They just have no consideration for its creators. That's the
right.
problem. And in any form, as far as I can tell. The only thing it is it's a video hosting website. That's it. And there are plenty of other video hosting sites out there as well. It's just the biggest one in town for now.
And in closing, I want to step back for a moment and talk about this from a business perspective.
Sure.
Because, you know, like I said, I'm a very idealistic person. That's just where my mind normally goes. But I also try to at least understand things from a more pragmatic standpoint. So even if you look at this from the perspective of, you know, YouTube needs to make money, YouTube is a business. And, you know, they need to cater to their advertisers so that they can get money. But at some point that will backfire.
Yeah, it will.
From a sheer business perspective, take the emotion out of it. Take us out of it. Take Trip and Lark out of this for a moment. If you keep doing what you're doing, eventually it's going to backfire. I mean, people don't understand. Goes back to the out of touch thing. People don't understand the reason YouTube is successful. The reason why YouTube exploded is because it was not what these companies are trying to make it.
Yeah.
It was the exact opposite. It was a place where you could say, you know,
fuck,
shit.
Yeah. You could
penis.
Express opinions that didn't fit with mainstream media.
And even beyond that, like, it's not sterilized. It's not just like, oh, we need our right to say offensive things. No, it goes beyond that. It goes to a level of, like you said, personality.
Yeah.
The personal and personality, charisma, feeling like you have a connection to somebody. Like there isn't a middleman. Like I am talking directly to my audience and hopefully they like what I'm saying. And I can meet these people. I can go out and say hi. Somebody on Reddit the other day recognized me by my username and we sparked a small conversation about my channel. And that is exactly what you cannot do on television. That is exactly what you cannot do in Hollywood.
Right.
This is what made YouTube what it is. So if you're looking at it from a pure money perspective, a pure business perspective, this can only sustain itself for so long on the path it's on.
Oh, yeah.
If people keep trying to suck YouTube dry of any kind of heterogeny, any kind of uniqueness, any kind of creativity, any kind of stuff that may be outside of the mainstream. If you keep trying to do that, then it's not going to last. So to the businesses out there, and I know you're watching because we're awesome, you need to think about that. You need to think about the fact that, okay, maybe you don't want someone like Jim Sterling who talks about having sex with pogs and, you know, fist fucking his boglins or whatever they are every other week. Maybe that's not something you want associated with your company, but you need to understand that that is something that millions of people are watching every fucking day. You need to understand that the landscape is changing. What is acceptable is changing. What is the standard is changing. And you can either get with the fucking program or get the fuck out. But do not try to drag us back down with you into the realm of bullshit, homogenized, sterilized network television that we all tried to escape from.
I think I couldn't say it better. I think you've just wrapped up this episode.
I tend to do that.
And by the way, for anyone that was wondering, this was a topic suggested by Psychotrip, and he was hot under the collar, so I said, go for it.
Yeah, man, shit like this, it really pisses me off. Like, shit like this pisses me off. So I had to. I really had to talk about this.
As YouTubers, it's concerning. Even if it isn't directly affecting us, it will eventually, or it will someday. You know.
Yeah.
And I think but the issue is like I mean I don't want to throw off that conclusion because that was a perfect conclusion, but maybe you all can comment on this. I mean, can you think of any, like, what can we do to really affect this? Like, what can we do to say to YouTube, this is stupid? They disable the comments, right?
Yeah.
And there's not an alternative. But I mean, if there was another website, no matter how small it was, that could do the same thing but actually supported its creators. I mean, that's why Patreon to me is so important, because
Definitely.
even if you only have a couple supporters, for any of you that do YouTube and don't know what Patreon is, you seriously need to research it, because that's
it's basically an ongoing Kickstarter.
Right.
That's the best way I can describe it.
And I think for anyone that's concerned about this stuff, I have no plans of relying on monetization for videos. I said that earlier in this episode, and that's why, because YouTube at a whim can say, well, we don't like these kinds of videos anymore, or maybe we don't want gaming discussion videos anymore, or maybe we don't want this anymore, and your income is gone. Whereas with Patreon, you're building your own audience, you're building your own support group, you're literally doing what the old time musicians like Beethoven and Mozart used to do, which was have patrons. So I think for now, the best advice in my mind is to look to, if you're a full-time YouTuber or if you're seriously considering doing this, don't rely on YouTube for support and don't rely on them for any kind of income. Really, you shouldn't. You should look to alternate avenues. You should look to building a fan base outside of YouTube, so that if the time comes where another alternative like video hosting site appears, we can make that mass migration. Because I am ready to go at a moment's notice at this point. I feel like it's gotten to that point where it's just, like you said, homogenization.
You mind if I just have one more closing remark? Because
no, go for it.
The idea of this mass migration thing, and I know I said I'm an idealist, but I'm very cynical when it comes to this.
Sure.
It's, in a lot of ways, it's a fantasy, because, I mean, YouTube is a monopoly, and it's incredibly difficult to dismantle a monopoly. Like, we saw this with Blip. I mean, Nostalgia Critic and all the Channel Awesome guys moved this stuff to Blip. Blip ended up shutting down. Right. So if that's something that we want to happen, now there's other stuff we can do. There's other stuff we can do within YouTube or to YouTube, through Twitter or other avenues, to get Twitter to at least encourage Twitter to change. We can do that.
Sure.
But if we're talking about some sort of mass migration, literally the only way that will ever be possible, ever, is if one of the big guys says enough and moves on. If PewDiePie, if Markiplier, who I actually love, I don't really watch PewDiePie, but I love Markiplier. Mm-hmm. So let's go with Markiplier. If Markiplier were to move to another website and, all of his videos, take down all of his videos on YouTube, actually not just do what the Channel Awesome guys did, where there was still, stuff on YouTube here and there. If you were to completely shut down Markiplier, the YouTube channel, and move it to some other website, that is the only way we can have a mass migration, because people need the whatever company will replace YouTube will need that flow of revenue.
That boost.
You will need to force consumers to move on to that other website who really love Markiplier. And then, all of us small timers can, go join them over there. And then maybe we can get something going. But until one of the big wigs steps up, and I'm not criticizing them at all.
No.
But so please don't interpret it that way. But until one of the big wigs does something and says, I can't take this shit anymore, and move somewhere else, then there's not going to be a mass migration. But if they do, then fuck, that could actually be possible.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's all I got, man.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But I just, like I said, I mean, this might be different ideologies. I just think you can't constantly keep putting your content creators down and expect them to stay happy. And it like you said, it might just take one or two people moving over to a different site. I mean, hell, like YouTube basically they just take their creators for granted, and you can't do that forever. But my point is, if you're a content creator and you're on YouTube and you're concerned, like say you make a little bit of money, and I'm not, but say you're at a level where you are, I would highly recommend looking at, don't depend on YouTube. That should be the title of this podcast. Don't depend on YouTube.
Actually, let's
AKA,
actually literally make that the title of this episode.
AKA YouTube Heroes.
Yeah.
AKA why YouTube Heroes sucks. All right. Well, anyways, Psycho Trip, it was a pleasure as always.
It was a pleasure. Yeah, so I'm Trip. You can catch me on YouTube. My channel is aptly named Psycho Trip. So yeah, this has been fun.
And I'm gonna throw in a quick plug. I'm sorry. Just let me.
That's cool.
This.
Do it, bro.
Hopefully this episode will be uploaded before this happens. There's a new GameLark album coming out. For those of you that don't know, GameLark does game remixes, video game remixes, and we have a Final Fantasy album coming out October 7th. And I'm actually going to include some links maybe in the video and in the description to the announcement trailer and to the first preview. But just wanted to throw that out there. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, you need to check it out. It's 2 hours of music and it's really, really good. And I'll end on that positive note that we have good video game music coming along in spite of all this shitty YouTube stuff that's going on.
All right, man. All right, guys. I'll see you later.